Hi, this is Jonathan Rosenhead, Jerusalem psychotherapist. This week's Torah and Psychology post for Yom Kippur is a difficult one. It's a difficult one in terms of trying to understand and to identify maybe what aspect to focus on. Because there's Yom Kippur itself with all the significance and the emotion and the intensity of the day. But there's also the fact that we have now gone through an entire year at least since the 7th of October, and there's been an intensity again, a recent wave again of intensity of fighting now in Lebanon. And it raises the question in terms of how to understand the cycle that we have been through, how to understand the point that we now find ourselves. Is the year, the way that we understand it, is it a year which is cyclical but like a spiral that we're able to move up? That's the traditional and often is the explanation that's given to the year, as it's a sense of a cycle, but we always are trying to move in an upward trajectory. Perhaps we find ourselves though now feeling as if we are stuck, that we are back in exactly the same point that where we were a year ago. Have we actually moved on? Have we moved in this upward trajectory, or are we still in the same point that we were at? Is there a sense of stuckness? It's very difficult to try to understand and try to internalize and process the emotions that we feel at the moment, the thoughts that we have at the moment. And I think, in a way, perhaps just to focus on the most fundamental, perhaps there's a fundamental aspect of what we're experiencing at the moment, which is relevant to Yom Kippur, which is also relevant to our day-to-day struggle throughout this year and going into the new year. I think we need to just focus on ourselves. That the only point that we can actually try to engage in some sort of a conceptualization of control, of bringing about change, can only really be in ourselves. There are so much which is outside of our control at the moment. There are so many aspects and things that are going on which can increase our level of stress and anxiety. And we are aware of what's going on around us, but we don't necessarily have control over the things in our environment. We need to try to focus on what is under our control, what is in our control, and that is ourselves. I think for Yom Kippur, this is actually the most pertinent aspect. When we go into Yom Kippur and we're thinking about change, and we're thinking about tshuva, and we're thinking about our goals and aspirations for the coming year, we need to just try to identify and focus on ourselves in a positive way, in a constructive way. And this can hopefully bring about change for ourselves, and hopefully bring about change also in terms of ben adam lechaveru, for the people around us, our family and our friends. And we can start with this. This is I think, a manageable and appropriate point to start with. And if we think about ourselves and we think about defining who we are and what we are, there's a very interesting and I think beneficial sort of presentation which Shlomo Volby brings in his Sefer of Alei Shur, when he discusses what is man, and he tries to come up with a definition of what is man. And he presents what is a dialectical view. He presents man as being both having the potential for growth and for creation and for a connection with the Kodesh Baruch Hu, and that we as man have an ability to use words and to use tefillah to have a relationship with the Kodesh Baruch Hu, and to bring about change for ourselves and in the world. That there is this lofty and, in a sense, elevated status and sort of, in a way, a characteristic of our existence that we have. But at the same time, there is a destructive potential, not only a constructive, but also a destructive potential for man. We make mistakes, we perform, we do aveiros. And this is the reality of our life, this is the reality of our existence throughout the year. That we have this ability to grow, we have this ability to do good, we have an ability to perform mitzvahs and have a relationship with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. But at the same time, we understand and we know it, especially at this time of the year, that we are able to introspect and to reflect on the mistakes that we make, on the fact that we are just human. And there is this dual understanding, this dialectical view of man, which Rav Shlomo Volby understands, and he presents, and in a sense, he asks a question of how do we reconcile this contradiction between two elements of our existence, the elements of man. And he says, not in the words of dialectical behavior therapy or dialectical view, but he describes in a way of being able to come to terms and reconcile this contradiction is to accept these two contradictory parts of our nature, two contradictory parts of human existence. And us as man, being the chosen people of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, having the ability to daven, but also having to take note and take responsibility for the mistakes that we make and to try to correct them. This is our focus. This needs to be our focus for Yom Kippur. And furthermore, Shlomo Volbe suggests that man, in order to understand who they are and to understand their existence, it needs to be grounded. He uses the word grounded, not in the therapeutic sense, but he says that man, in order to understand who they are, needs to understand what they are connected to, what grounds them, that they need to be connected to their family, they need to be connected to their environment, they need to understand where do they find themselves in this world, what is their environment, who do they interact with, and to be connected with that. And in a sense, that is the therapeutic technique of grounding, to stop and take note and be present in the here and now. What is our existence and where are we? How do we understand grounding in this sense that we give ourselves the time and the space and the opportunity in our day-to-day existence to take note of where we are, how we are feeling, what are the thoughts and what are the feelings that we have at this moment, what is going on in our life. This is Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is a day of grounding, a day of connecting with who we are, which, as Rav Shlomo Volbe says, it's defining what we are, what is man, what is our existence, the nature of our existence. And if we're able to connect and appreciate this dialectical existence and use Yom Kippur as this grounding experience, we can start to make change in ourselves, in our life, and with the people around us. And hopefully this will make a difference, that we can go into the next year and start to move in a upward trajectory, like we say, entering into this spiral that we don't feel that we are remaining in this stuck position. And I hope this will be beneficial for you, and will be beneficial and have an impact on the whole of Klal Yisrael, that our tefillahs should be answered, and that there should be peace very soon in the coming year for Klal Yisrael. Have a good Shabbos and Gemar Chesina Tova.